Breaking news here. Of course, we started this newscast talking about that big ruling by the judge who said, look, we don't have kings in the United States, suggesting that Don McGahn and maybe others need to testify that there is no absolute immunity. Well, President Trump has now tweeted 3 times in a row in, well, the last hour, or maybe much less than that. Let me go back to Hans Nichols, who's at the White House. What's the president saying?
The president's making an argument on executive prerogative, and he's saying he's trying to defend the presidency from these investigations and what he says are totally unfair. So in these 3 tweets, the president is saying he would like to have people like Don McGahn, Mike Pompeo, Rick Perry testify, but he says that he has to preserve it for future presidents. So he's really wrapping himself up in the institution of the executive, the institution of the presidency, and that's why he doesn't quite come out and say that he's preventing them from testifying. But let me read it to you just so we can be really accurate here. Other than that, and the that being that I'm fighting for future presidents, I would actually like people to testify. He says Don McGahn is a respected attorney and has already said that he did nothing wrong. He says as it relates to John Bolton, who's also asked the courts to weigh in on whether or not he can be compelled to testify. He says that John Bolton could potentially testify that he withheld the aid to Ukraine because he wanted to fight corruption. That's another thing the president says. And then also suggesting that Rick Perry, Mike Pompeo, and Mick Mulvaney could also potentially testify. But future presidents should in no way be compromised. So we've had the ruling from Judge Jackson. We know that the White House is, at least the Justice Department, is planning to appeal. As that percolates up the courts, the president is giving us his view on what he thinks is at stake and what he's defending. Chris?
Thank you for checking out our YouTube channel. Why don't you subscribe? It's really easy. Just click on that button down there. And for more news from MSNBC, click on any of these videos here for the latest interviews and highlights. You can get more videos from MSNBC with our newsletters. Head over to msnbc.com/newsletters to sign up.